Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
So I have a very limited time to speak, so I have to skip the opening joke. So it'd be really great if everyone could just laugh uproariously right now. No, better than that. It was a really good joke that you missed. Come on, better. You guys in the back, nobody's laughing back there. Great, thank you. Great. Some of you, of course, are still eating, and I know it's difficult to listen to a speaker while you're eating, so we're going to do it the monastic way, where we do a holy reading while you're eating. And this will help you concentrate more on what I'm going to say. And you think I'm kidding.
Deo gratia.
All right. Deo gratias. All right. Well, in 1910, G.K. Chesterton wrote a book called What's Wrong with the World? And he identified 4 things that are wrong with the world. Big government, big business, feminism, and public education. I said this was 1910, right? Why did he pick out those 4 things? Because those 4 things all conspire to undermine the family. The family is the basic unit of society. If you have a strong family, you have a strong society. If you have a weak family, you have a weak society and a weak culture. And big government tends to replace functions of the family. Big business tends to pull the family apart by making the job or the office more important than the home. Feminism is an attack on motherhood. And of course, as Chesterton said so eloquently, 10,000 women marched through the streets saying, "We will not be dictated to," and they went off and became stenographers. Good. There's at least 40 people here who still know what a stenographer is. That's terrific. Write this down. All right, and then public education. Chesterton says we gave more power to the government than in any other time in history when we gave them the power to educate our children by making school attendance compulsory and controlled by the government. He said the state had less power over a man when it could send him to be burnt at the stake than it does when it sends him to the public school. And he says the problem is that not that man has lost his way. He says man has always lost his way. The problem is that man has lost his address. We have forgotten who we are. We've forgotten the basic elements of what it means to be a human being and a civilized human being. And none of that is being taught in our public schools. Chesterton says there's one thing that's never taught in any of our public schools, and that is that there is a whole truth of things, and that in knowing it and speaking it, we are happy. Now, one of the principles of teaching, and one of the principles of public speaking, is that you have to say a thing 3 times in order for it to sink in. Because the first time you say it, the audience will go, well, that was interesting. But the second time you say it, they'll go, I've heard this somewhere before. And then the third time you say it, they'll go, you know, this guy's smart. He thinks the same way I do. So, the one thing that is not taught in any of our public schools is this, that there is a whole truth of things, and that in knowing it and speaking it, we are happy. I've heard that somewhere before. All right? The one thing that is never taught in any of our public schools is that there is a whole truth of things, and that in knowing it and speaking it, we are happy. When we started, well, let's back up one more. 1910 was What's Wrong with the World. 1937, the president of the University of Chicago, which I understand is located just south of here, in a different state, Robert Hutchins gave a talk to the National Catholic Education Association. And he said to them, the Catholic Church has the longest tradition, the longest intellectual tradition in education than any institution in the world. And yet the Catholic schools are doing nothing but imitating the public schools. That was 1937. Of course, everything has improved since then, which is why we're sitting here tonight. When we started Chesterton Academy, we simply were looking for the best way. It was a group of people looking for the best way to educate their own children with a secondary education. And we wanted it to be affordable, faithfully Catholic, and classical, to affirm traditional ideas. Dr. Andrew Seeley is going to tell you more about what a classical education is, but we chose the classical route because, as Chesterton says, the problem with our schools today is that students are subjected to educational theories that are younger than they are. We keep experimenting on our children and trying something new on them, rather than teaching them the things that have always been true and that still are true, which is why you teach the Iliad, because all of life is a battle. And you teach the Odyssey, because all of life is a journey. And you teach the book of Job, because all of life is a riddle. And you teach Chaucer, because all of life is a pilgrimage. And you teach Shakespeare, because the world's a stage. And you teach Dostoevsky, because the whole world is comprised of a family of believers and unbelievers, and every soul is a battleground between heaven and hell. And you teach Chesterton, because truth is paradoxical, and you have to have wonder as an endless source of inspiration and drive. And really, the wonder has to inform everything you do. The classroom should always be filled with wonder. Some people sometimes ask me, what would Chesterton have said about the Common Core? And you have to understand, I don't put words in Chesterton's mouth. He puts words in my mouth. That's how it works. But fortunately, he did comment on the very thing. He was giving a speech in the 1920s called Culture and the Coming Peril. And he says, the peril that I'm warning you about is not excessive democracy or excessive ugliness or excessive anarchy. The peril I'm warning you about is standardization by a low standard. And that's what we're facing today in our public education system. And the private schools are just imitating the public schools. And sadly, too many Catholic schools are just imitating a public system with the addition of a religion class. The whole point of a Chesterton Academy curriculum is that the faith informs everything that's being taught. You're being taught the faith when you're studying literature and history and even the math and the sciences. We're one of the only schools that have a 4-year philosophy curriculum. Most high schools don't teach any philosophy at all. And we teach it for 4 years because you start with just the rules of logic and reason so that students can understand what a fallacy is and what a bad argument is. And that informs all their thinking the rest of the way for the following 4 years. They can see where a bad argument is. And of course, it's really a pain when they're sitting at dinner with you. And when they take the whiteboard off the refrigerator and erase the grocery list and explain to you the fallacy in your argument. And I need to give you this as a, this is full disclosure. Your students that you send to this school will become very obnoxious when you want to get them to do something and you don't have a good reason. So hopefully they'll make all of you better thinkers. Because that's part of the point. We're trying to make the world into better thinkers. Because people don't know how to think anymore. And not only do we require 4 years of philosophy, but we require art. Not only drawing and painting for 4 years, but required choir and required drama. And my wife, who runs the drama department at our school, and also the drama department at our home, she says that drama is the most Christian of all the arts because it's about dying to yourself and rising again as a different person that was created for you to be. And it's a great representation of the body of Christ, where everybody plays a role and everybody has to work together to function as that body. And if one person fails, if one person doesn't do well, the whole body suffers. So every part becomes important. And it's a better team building experience than any athletic experience because everyone's working together and it bonds our classes together every time they put on a play. And then, of course, daily Mass. The whole curriculum is built on the Incarnation, and the whole day is built on the Incarnation. And as a result of really these principles, affordable, faithfully Catholic, classical, and with the curriculum that we have created, it's a simple but very effective model. And it has now been copied by people all around the country, people just like yourself. This room that I'm with tonight is, I've seen this experience all around the country. It's people who just want to give their kids a good education that they're not getting anywhere else, and they want to see them formed into better thinkers, into better Catholics. And we started our first school 13 years ago. The second school came along 8 years ago, and it was just simply someone who said, I want to do what you're doing, and we still hadn't even figured out what we were doing. And now there are 30 Chesterton Academies around the country. And there's going to be one opening in Erbil, Iraq. And another one in Sierra Leone, Africa. Next year there'll be 10 more schools, and there's in the process now for another 10 schools in 2 years. So we should have 50 schools in 2 years. And my friends, you are part of this movement. This is a grassroots movement to reclaim Catholic education and to rebuild a culture that is falling apart. I mean, our system right now will collapse, so let's start rebuilding it now. And thank you for being part of it, and it's a joy for me to be here and be inspired by you. I hope I can give you that same sense of inspiration. It's happening all over the country, and God bless you. Thank you. All right. Oh, stop it now. Stop it. Okay. Thank you. All right. Again, thank you very much. God bless you.